Hey there, study fans. It's Camus, or Kuasm as I'm known on YouTube, with Chess Beauty 78, I believe. And at the end of 77, we left you with this rather strange position. White appears to be winning quite handily with a huge material plus. Anyway, if you haven't seen this before, give it a shot. This is a study by Hans Libelle, and it was entered in the 2004 Humor Tournament. And we'll probably look at some of the other studies that were winners in that tournament. It is quite amusing and perhaps a little educational. As I mentioned in the last video, it bears a thematic resemblance to the very simple Blake study that we looked at last, insofar as that black is in a stalemate sort of situation here. So the key to the study is the rather odd-looking move, bishop to g2. And naturally, if we play something like a7, then black has this rather annoying threat of bishop to f3. And if we take the bishop, we get stalemate. So conversely, after a7, bishop to f3, if we ignore the bishop, say play something like d4, then bishop to g4, king g4 is stalemate. So we have to worry about this. That's why in the opening position, bishop to g2 is the only move that works. Now, why is it bishop to g2? Well, the fact is it's the only move that prevents the black bishop from getting to f3. But so for instance, if we went bishop to d5, then bishop to f3, and we have not accomplished anything. So bishop to g2 is the only move that wins. Now, of course, this gives black something to do. He can take our bishop. In fact, he must. It's his only move. Bishop to g2. And now, again, the only move for white to win is queen to h1. Queen to h1, and the bishop must take. If he tries bishop to f3 here, then white has a very strange win in queen to h4. This is why the queen had to come to h1, because of this necessary resource. Now if he tries bishop takes g4, king takes g4, and the stalemate is lifted. G takes h4, a7, bishop f4, or whatever, we queen, and we mate. So this is a resource that pops up again in a later line. So let's go back. Bishop to g2, bishop takes g2, queen to h1. As I said, it's necessary to be on h1 as to play queen to h4. You'll see in this study that white basically tries to sacrifice everything it has in order to lift the stalemate threat. So bishop takes h1. At a7, we're threatening the queen. Bishop to f3. So that same stalemate threat of bishop takes g4 check is in the air, but we can stop it by queening, forcing bishop takes a8. And now, again, the only winning move is rook to h1. And if, similarly as in the queen variation, if he plays bishop to f3, we win with rook to h4. It's a kamikaze win. And by something like the following. Well, if he plays bishop takes g4, king takes g4, g takes h4, and after knight to b4, mate cannot be prevented. Similarly, let's go back. After rook h1, bishop f3, rook h4. If we play g takes h4, if he takes the rook, then rook to f1, and the stalemate is lifted if he plays bishop takes g4, king takes g4, and we're going to checkmate on f8. So that covers that. So after rook to h1, bishop takes h1 is the only move for black to stay alive. And now we have knight a to c1. black plays bishop to f3. He's very persistent about this. Rook to a8. And this would be checkmate, except for the bishop, so the bishop must take bishop to a8. And now there's only one winning move for white, and that is knight to e2. Say he tries something like d4 and bishop to f3, and then we have the same issue. Stalemate cannot be prevented. So after bishop takes a8, knight to e2 is the only way to win. The real study ends after bishop to f3, and now knight to f4. And with the simple white wins. But it's actually not so easy, as I found out. I wanted to see, well, exactly how does white win here? So I analyzed a bit further. And the best move is g takes f4 for black. And now knight to d4. The stalemate is lifted, but it's still tricky. Bishop to d5. This is all Houdini's analysis. Actually, I checked this with two other engines, with Ribka as well as Hierarchs. And it's funny because the computers all went into this following line. I'll show you in just a minute. After bishop to d5, g takes f4, bishop takes f4, c4, bishop to e5. Now, all the computers here gave c takes d5. It's important that white retains his knight. He has to be able to threaten checkmate on f7. Otherwise, the following happens. Bishop takes d4, d6, bishop e5, d7, bishop f6, g5, bishop takes g5, king to g4, bishop to d8. And white cannot win this because even if he gets his king to c8 or e8, as soon as he queens, the bishop takes the queen and it's stalemate. So oddly enough, I had to spend some time here forcing the computers to find the correct move, and that correct move after bishop to e5 in our main line is knight to f5. Then the win is not too difficult. Bishop to e6, c5, bishop to d5, trying to control the path of this pawn threatening the queen. But the real threat in this position actually comes from the knight landing on f7, as we'll see. So for instance, if he played bishop to f4 here instead of bishop to d5, d4, bishop takes d2, knight to d6, bishop to d5, c6, bishop to a5, knight to f7, bishop takes f7, g takes f7, king takes h7, we queen and win. I enjoyed this puzzle a lot, even though the position was slightly bizarre. I hope you enjoyed it too. And let's look ahead at our next study. This is white to play and win, which looks to be a daunting task, but there is a clear win for white in this position. Have a look at it, and good luck. I will tell you that this is a very difficult position, so my hat's off to you if you can solve it. My hat never left my head when I tried to solve it because I was unable to, but you might be luckier than I am. All right, we'll see you in the next Chess Beauty. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.